Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll talk about the Robotic Process Automation Projects book that I and Arun co-authored. The idea was to write a book where you can build real-world solutions using the best tools that we have in the market, the RPA tools. It's UiPath and Automation Anywhere. So let's just start. What we'll do today is give you a quick overview of why we wrote that project, why we wrote this book, and also what's in the book. We just want to cover at a high level what projects are there so that you understand what it is. And then Arun will walk us through a few demos. It'll also help us understand how to use the book well. And then finally, we have a discount code that we wanted to share with you. So why we wrote this book, this projects book, is because we think that's the best way you can learn RPA. And I always believe that learning is best done by doing. And in terms of RPA, doing interesting projects is probably the best way to learn RPA. Now, there are courses out there, free courses out there in UiPath Academy and Automation Anywhere Academy, and they're very good. And I think you should go do it. And I'm pretty sure most of you must have done it. And that's a good foundation. But then what happens is that's like learning theory, right? And what makes things interesting and wanting you to do things and remember things is doing actual real life projects or real life things. So, for example, you've got so many MOOCs courses out there, and if you don't know MOOCs, it's this massive online learning communities up there, and we've got MIT, Stanford, all the courses out there. So, right now, the knowledge is not the constraint. We have abundance of knowledge, but what knowledge we can take and apply and learn is what we need to know best. And that's where what we have done is try to distill that knowledge in a book in form of projects. So you do interesting projects and you can learn, once you do these projects, maybe you can do more, or you can pick your own interesting project and do that. But as you do these projects, what we have done is that we have incorporated concepts in that in a gradually increasing complexity, right? So you learn more concepts as you go through more projects. And we start with a fewer simpler concepts and move to the more complex concepts. So basically the idea was that to help the community, help people learn by doing projects. Now there are some constraints being a book and things like that, but what we have tried our best. So we have the code on GitHub, which again, Arun will show you today. And then we also have some code in action videos. So the idea is that, to help you learn to do these projects quickly, and then once you do this project, you are an RPA practitioner. And RPA is not very difficult, though when putting it in a book, it's more of screenshots. So you'll see a lot of screenshots like you see here in the book. But what we have done is look to help you follow along and do the project by yourself. And we have even picked software which is free to use or free to try so that you can actually run this by yourself or try this by yourself. All right. I think Arun is letting people in. That's a good thing. So that's why we wrote the project, right? We wrote the projects book. So what we have in the book is 10 projects, 5 on UiPath and 5 on Automation Anywhere. So, and we start with the basics. We start with some basics like what is RPA and what is the architecture for each of those tools and how you can install them to get started, right? And then we end with an appendix on trends, where we see RPA going, like the new trends of hyper automation and the whole technology space growing and becoming more useful actually, which is very good for all of us. Though there's a bit of hype, but the whole space is moving into a much more useful technology space, right? That's why Gartner wants to combine them and create a category called hyper automation. Just today, and I'll share this in a few minutes, is that UiPath is being now valued at $10 billion. It was 7 billion like last few months. Now it's being valued at 10 billion. So RPA is really on fire. So many people ask me, is RPA dead? Is the new way to go is hyper automation? It's all new terms and things, but RPA is still very good. As you saw, $10 billion for UiPath, and last year RPA was the fastest growing enterprise segment. So that again shows how RPA is growing, and it's a real proof that it's growing. And in terms of skills, RPA is the next best skill to have after AI or machine learning. So and we see that in the market already, right? So that's why we started with some few projects which you can learn RPA by doing, and we chose two tools, which is UiPath and Automation Anywhere. We actually pivoted when we were writing the project from Automation Anywhere, the earlier version 13, to a 2019, so that we can cover the latest version in the book. So we have the best tools in the latest versions that you can try in the book.
Yeah, and Nandan, just one more additional point here.
Yeah.
So one other important point is Microsoft and SAP, they have also invested in RPA. So that really says that RPA is taking off and all the big players would jump into it. So we are just at the tipping point of the iceberg.
Okay. So the projects that we have, just a high-level overview of the projects that we have in the book, right? We start with a simple help desk ticket generation project. So in this project, we just take a spreadsheet, put the ticket data in there, and then it takes the data, UiPath takes the data and puts that in Zoho Desk, which is a free-to-use application out there from Zoho. And we've made that an attended automation. So it's a simple attended automation which you can invoke using a shortcut. Now, having said that, it probably is not the simplest of project, because we've used the real world ways of doing things in terms of handling exceptions and doing things in the right way. So, when you read along, we want you to do things in the right manner right from the get-go, not just do like a small proof of concept and get to seeing the bot work and then move on. This is more like doing a real world project. So the first project is Helpdesk ticket generation. The second one is CRM automation, customer relationship management software, right? We use Aptivo. So we'll see a bit of Aptivo in the project. We use Aptivo as a business ERP solution that we're using. So here what we're doing is the swivel chair activity, and swivel chair activity is the common thing in RPA, right? Like there's data in one system, like a SAP or Oracle, and then you want it put in a CRM system like Salesforce or Aptivo or anything. And so that's what we do. So here, what we're doing is take this customer information and we look up that customer information from a site called Crunchbase. So Crunchbase is a site where you can get information about company data. So like how many employees does a company have, what address is a company at, and that kind of thing. So we take that data and put it in the customer relationship management system, Aptivo, so that people, when they're entering the customer, when they're looking up the customer, they have all the information, right? And this is something like people would do it, look up Crunchbase, take the data and put it in the CRM system. We've looked to automate that. The next two projects is on, well, the first one is on with AI. So you can see we're kind of trying to make it a little bit more complex, not complex, more concepts, right? Like AI is a new concept. And we use Google Vision there to actually look at images from social media and moderate them, whether, they are violent images, and then the moderator needs to go remove that image. That's the thing we've looked to solve with moderating social media. The next one is on purchase order processing with UiPath RE framework. So the key part here is the RE framework, because we wanted to have covered this framework, how you can do a good project using a standard framework from UiPath, which gives you everything that you need to do a complex project. So here we're assuming that the PO is having high volume. So we take that information, put it in a queue, and from the queue, they put it, the application puts it in, or the bot puts it in the purchase order application, which is Aptivo. The next thing we do is an RPA challenge, and this is kind of a bridge chapter where we move from UiPath to Automation Anywhere. So we do the challenge in both UiPath and Automation Anywhere, so that you can see and compare. And before we get into the Automation chapter, Anywhere chapters, it's kind of simple, but it's basically taking data. So there is data that the rpachallenge.com's website provides. So you download that data, and many of you might have seen it, people solving it and getting it, completing it in few minutes. And you can also do that, and it's really attractive. In how many minutes you can complete complete the input into the forms. But the forms keep changing. So there are like 10 forms and the fields keep changing. So the position of the fields keep changing. So that's the two projects we had in terms of the RPA challenge, and then we move to more A 2019 projects. So first A 2019 project, other than the challenge, is a sales order processing, which is mainly taking data from an Excel and putting it in application, which is Aptio. So again, a simpler project to start with, but here we're doing automation anywhere, Excel automation. We are doing automation anywhere, A 2019, Aptio, or web-based application automation. Then the next one we're doing is an ERP user administration, which is like, like this is a user administrator use case where they have to keep on adding multiple users who join the company or who want to use the application. So we took that and automated that. Here we take it from a user request, and then we create it in a SaaS app, which we selected Fresh Sales for this. It's a Freshworks application. And so we use that for ERP user administration. And Arun, I think, is going to show this to you today. One of the exciting use cases is emergency notifications. People who have reviewed the book, this is one thing they found very interesting. It's something where in my previous company, we actually looked to implement this one for our HR group. So the idea is that when there is a shooting going on, active shooter, or like there's a hurricane or floods, or now like a pandemic, and then you want to reach out to employees and find out if they're safe. That's what we want to do, like do a mass text looking up, let's say, PeopleSoft. Here what we do is we look up a spreadsheet and send mass text using Twilio to employees in that database. And that's pretty interesting. And we have, I don't know if Arun is showing this. I think he's showing this a bit. But the problem here is that we cannot show like a mobile where the text comes. So we are choosing another one to show the demo. But he'll probably walk you through that, the code in action video. The final one is AI. And this is we are using IQBot, Automation Anywhere IQBot. It's one of the best IDP or intelligent document processing solution out there. And there are many now. UiPath has got their own, and you can even use cloud providers like Textract and all. But this gives you a good idea in terms of how you can use AI to read structured data or unstructured data from PDFs and make that into structured data, which can be used in automation. And it's very useful because whichever automation I've seen, you end up with this scenario where there will be some document there, like it's an employee onboarding, there is some employee onboarding form, or there is an invoice processing or purchase order processing, or there's a collections. Anywhere you go, there is a PDF document out there. And this helps doing that. It helps you get the data out and put in structured format. And this has grown quite a bit because when I started this around 5 years back, the OCR was not so good. Right now, with the intelligent character recognition, things have become much better and more useful. So that's the projects that we have, and I think, yeah. So I'll send you this as part of the resources in a follow-up mail, and when I put this video on YouTube, I'll put that in the resources as well. But we do have a GitHub where all the code is there, and it's all free to access. You can access it, and we do have a code in action videos on YouTube. As I said, I'll send you the links. Hand it over to Arun. Arun, if you want to share your screen and.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. So this is a digital version of the book, the PDF version. So book is available both for Kindle, PDF, and even hard copies are available, and you can purchase it in Amazon. Right. So we have different table of contents, and if you see to your right, we have a preface, and we have 10 chapters what Nandan has just discussed with us, and also few appendix which will help you set up UiPath robots and orchestrators. And the next step forward where we cover the future of the RPA, right? So the most interesting part is the actual projects. So let me take the first project in UiPath, which is the help desk ticket generation, what Nandan just explained. So this is an attended automation. So how you can use this book is the first, it would explain you what we're going to do in this chapter. That's what happens in the start. When you move to the next one, next page, these are the topics you'll be learning. Like in this instance, we'll be learning attended, about Excel, how to work with web-based automation, how to do exception handling and invoking different workflows and interworking with them, right? And also the next section of the chapter would cover the technical requirements we need. In this instance, we need a UiPath, we need a Chrome browser with a plugin or add-on, and so access to Zoho, and and the most important part is the code and action videos. Links are also here, which I will come back in a bit, and a link to the GitHub where you could, as we could upload the UiPath codes to GitHub. We did it for all the UiPath projects, and they are available in the GitHub. So the link is in your presentation. You can go through them. Don't need to. You can just it's open for all. And if you need to download all the codes, so just go to clone or download, and then just take a copy, download zip. So this will copy the entire projects into your local folder, and then you can go through the chapters whichever you're interested in, right? If you look at the chapters, how I have organized it in GitHub is, so there's always an about me or a read me. So it will give you a good introduction of how to what are the prerequisites you need to run the code, and if there are any dependencies, how do you fix those errors, right? it, with that file, you should be able to set this project in your community edition of your UiPath, right? All the XAML files are here. So you just need to download it, do some modification, and all the steps are explained in the book. Okay, that is the GitHub piece. Coming back to the book chapters, so once we have the technical requirements, the next one is a project overview. Here, what we have explained is we have provided a high-level process walkthrough of the project. So that will give you not just a technical version of the project, but you'll also know what happens from a business process perspective, right? So that will be really helpful for any BAs or when you create a PDDs, which is a process design document, right? Next one is a bit more technical, where we explain the sequence diagram about what files are getting invoked when and what parameters are getting passed. So that level, this is just a very high level version of STD. We're not gone in depth into these technical documents because this is a book for all. We didn't want to complicate things, so we kept it in a very high level, so it covers all the basics of any project setup. And then we do a project setup, or what we need to do in the project, like setting up the folders, files, input files, and then we go further down the book. This is the registration for Zoho, and when we finally get to the project, we explain you step by step of how exactly you need to do, like uh, like the project with all the screenshots and steps, so that you don't get lost anywhere. I mean, we made it so simple so that anyone, even without a basic knowledge, should be able to follow it. But if you already have done courses in UiPath and Automation Anywhere, this should be a walk in a park, right? So this is how we have organized it. And then at the end of the section, we also have a testing, and then we have a conclusion for the sections. Okay, now I'll go to the best part, which is the code in action video, where so all these code in actions are available in the YouTube channel, and you can just watch them. So this is a code in action for the help desk ticket automation. Let me blow it up. So what you see is that we have a request file in a request folder. So whenever we have a request file in a folder, that is the input for the automation. Here we have the contact name, email, and subject. So these three attributes are the ones we'll be using to create a help desk ticket for John Doe or a password reset. Okay, so this is the prerequisite we need, and now we'll be running the automation. Let's give it a minute to start. If you see, as this is an attended automation, the shortcut key here is an Alt S to trigger the automation. So if a user presses Alt S, that will trigger the automation. So we could, so that's how attended automation works. We can provide keyboard shortcuts or even mouse events to do that. So in this case, we're using an on-screen keyboard to do that, to show you how it works. It's Alt S, right? First thing the bot would do is check if the request is present in the folder. We just checked it was present in the request folder. This is the information we have from the request. The bot would then use it to create the request in the Zoho desk application. And then it would also verify if the request has been created successfully, and then move it to the process folder, from the request folder to a process folder. So we can continue this step. We can place new request into the folder, and then use the same Alt S to continue, or you can break the program by stopping the automation. Right, so request file is moved to the process folder. So I'm trying to again run the bot. See, now the bot says that there is no request available because we don't have any request in the request folder. So all these scenarios are covered in detail in this chapter. So if you're interested to learn the basics of attended automation, this is a good place to start. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to change the request to a different request. So that's how it happens. Well, let me pause the video there. I think you got the idea of what this chapter would do, right? Okay. So the next one, which I would interested to show you, is an Automation Anywhere project, ERP administration. Right. So what we're doing here, as Nandan has already explained, so we'll be adding new users to an ERP application based on the request we get on a PDF file, right? So we would use very similar structure as you saw in the previous chapter. We would explain you what you're going to learn in this chapter, which are email automation, web automation, recorders, regular expressions, exception handling, and we would follow the very similar structure. So we have the same technical requirements, code in action. The only thing which is missing in Automation Anywhere is the GitHub, because we could not upload the content into GitHub because AA is a cloud-based environment, and that is something which was not we're not possible to do that, right? And we are using fresh sales CRM for this one. Okay, so let me and all of the sections will be the same. We have the process flow, we have the sequence diagram, and we would show you how you would create an automation step by step in this chapter. Input files and setup, project setup, and how do you do it actually. And you need to register, you need to have an account in Automation Anywhere Community Edition to do that. We have given all the information of registration in the first chapter itself. How are you going to do that, right? And it's also available online. Anyone can do that. It's for free. Okay, so let me go to the code in action for this project. and it should be in the technical section. And let me run that video. This is a fairly simple automation with Automation Anywhere, and you can learn web automation. Yeah, so this is the latest A29 platform we are using. And as you see, the same John Doe request form is what we are using. We placed a sample request form in the request folder, and yeah, and we need to make sure that we have the fresh desk application open. We haven't included the application triggering part here. And the interesting part is we have used a trigger for this automation. If you want to learn about triggers, this will be a good project to start with. So if you drop in a file into a folder, if a bot sees that a new file is available, then it will process the request. Right? So it's listening. The bot is currently listening. Now, if we drop in the request file from this sample request folder into the actual request folder, which is just, if you just paste it on the request folder, then bot would get triggered. So it would take a couple of minutes for the dependencies to get downloaded, and the bot is now starting to do its work. First one, what we're checking is email format, where we use regular expression to check if email is in the right format. We also check for mandatory fields to create a request. So if some of the mandatory fields are not available, as you see, we are filling in the form to create the actual user in the ERP system, assigning it role, and now we are done. So once it's done, the bot would wait to see if there's any exception, and if the user has been created successfully, then that would be the end of the automation. So we can always extend. This is just a basic concept, so we can extend it. So it's we given a message saying that everything has been done successfully, right? So this is just a very basic automation. You can always extend it by adding email extraction, or if you want to extend it, you can do whatever you want. As you see, it moved to the process folder, and along with it, I think we have also done some logging for this. So yeah, this is the actual users which got created in the fresh sales, and we would also be creating some logs, execution logs in this project, so which would simulate some of the actual logs we would create in a project. So this will be really helpful for tracking what happened in the project step. So that completes the code in action. So Nandan, do you want to cover the other, do you want me to cover the failure part as well, or?
No, yeah, just the employee. Can you run the employee emergency demo, just the code in action?
Okay.
Some people are for that. I know we cannot show a mobile, but at least we can show.
Yeah, this was one of the interesting projects we did in this one. So write out 12 is API based, sends out messages, and we need to, and we have some free version of it available. You can, with free credits available, you can use it to check. And this came up when the COVID situation started, and we thought it was a good use case for people who can relate to the COVID situation. It's in March 2020, so 3 months back. So what we have is, I'm just showing you that we don't, okay. We have a parent bot and a child bot, and if we trigger the parent bot, child bot gets called. The child bot would have the logic to run that actual value. That's one of the important concepts you learn in this book, how to call different bots within each other so that they all work in tandem and not just don't have one main bot which does all the work, which is how an actual project would be implemented if it was designed properly, right? So if you see the message has been sent successfully to the first employee, the message is what we are going to send is in an Excel file. Now the bot would just read those Excel file and then name the mobile number and the text, and the message would be sent to the respective users, and we would get again execution log to see if the message has been sent successfully to the users or not, right? So that is this project. And we also have covered the API. So unfortunately, we can show what we can show as a proof is we can go to the logs, SMS logs, and check for the latest log. Yeah. So this program was run and 2 messages were sent. Right. So this is the proof. We can see that actual SMS has been sent from the value site, and we would receive it in our mobile phones.
Okay.
Yes, and then so this is what I wanted to cover.
Okay, great. Thank you, Arun. That's perfect. And yeah, as I said earlier, we cannot show you the mobile phone, but it is really interesting to receive all this text on the mobile. So we did test it out. So encourage you guys also to try Twilio out with UiPath or Automation Anywhere. It's an interesting use case. So I'll just take over and share my screen. We'll just get to the questions part, and then if you people on the call, if you have any questions, please do put it on the chat. So maybe I'll start with one of the questions in the chat. And where is the chat window? Okay, yeah. So okay, so I'll get to the chat window in a minute. I think more questions. So please keeping the questions and put the questions on chat. So let's look. Can you see my screen? So there should be an Excel out there with the questions, right? Arun, you can see? Someone give me a heads
Yes.
up. Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you. So first question from Priyanka asks, she's asking, I recently changed my profile in RPA. Will this book help me starting from scratch? Yes, because as Arun said, we assume that you don't know much of RPA actually. You don't know UiPath or Automation Anywhere. You can get started. Though what we would really recommend is that you should go do some basic courses on UiPath from their UiPath Academy or Automation Anywhere Academy. And then get to this book, or you can do this book, get started, and as you come across the concepts, you go and check those concepts on the UiPath or Automation Anywhere documents, or even the academy. And that's what I personally do. I personally do the project because that's more interesting to me. Just do even a hello world project, and then whatever concepts I need to do, I just go and look up the documents, or go look up the tutorials at that point of time. Shankar is asking how can we use it. So I hope Shankar, Arun's detailed walkthrough helped you with that. That's how you use the book. If you're on the call, we can put any more questions you have on the chat, and then we'll take it up. Or once we complete this, you guys can come off mute and ask your questions. So let's just go through this once. For now, please put on mute. Okay. Will there be various project concepts and solutions using Automation Anywhere in this book? Yes, there are various projects and concepts in this book, and as we said, there is varying. We keep increasing the complexity. So, Arun, do you want to add to that?
Yes. So it will be from simple to medium complex. It won't be more complex. This book is not designed for advanced developers. This is only for students, because we cannot satisfy all types of users. But you would know the concepts better. This will be one step above what you learn from the academies, right? So this will be your bridge between your actual job interviews and your training. So that is how we are planned to that's how we designed this book, so that it would help people move ahead in their careers, and people don't have to go and spend a lot of time in YouTubes and different websites. So they could come to this book, get some knowledge, practice what they have learned, do some projects, take the projects into the interview, and get placed. So that was the idea behind what we are trying to do here. We couldn't go uh, to the next level of complexity because it will become more complex, and a book is not the right place to show our technical skills there. So we have to restrict ourselves to the basic concepts and come to a middle ground which would help people, wide range of people, right?
Perfect, Arun. Thank you for that. And I like that analogy of bridge. So it's a bridge between your academy and before you move into real world projects. Which tool would you choose to learn RPA? That's what Pallavi is asking. So I think from our side, we thought the top two tools, UiPath and Automation Anywhere, is a good place to start. And we still think that's the best place to start. But though the tool to start is the tool that you want to use. So supposing you have a project and then you have Pega out there, you should start with Pega. And Pega has got its own academy, and you learn Pega, or you can learn any of those tools out there. It's not about the tool, it's about learning what RPA can do. It's about software bots, it's about digital assistants and how you can create digital assistants. How to analyze a use case, Rajshekhar is asking. So analyzing a use case is pretty complex because there are steps you want to do to analyze or select use cases, and I think that's what you're asking for automation. So I would say go to my blog nandan.info. I have a detailed posts on that one, how you can select the processes that you do for automation. But few key criteria you look for is there a lot of manual work? If there are a lot of repetitive work? If so, RPA is very good for such kind of work. Is the process well defined? If the processes are not well defined, and thing I look for is it documented properly? So if there's a documentation and the use case is documented so that it says you go to the screen, press this key, enter this data, that kind of documentation is there, and it's a very manual, repetitive work. Those are the things I think you should do use the automation for. And if you look at it here, like employee notification, you're trying to send SMS to so many employees, and if you're going to do it manually, that's going to take a lot of time. Or if you want to do a purchase orders, there's a lot of purchase orders coming in, or sales orders coming in. Those are the use cases that we want to select for automation, and that's what we have chosen in the book too. So in the book, on a side note, right, we've chosen use cases that are as close to real world as possible, and also real world applications which you can try out. And as Arun said, it's a good bridge between what you learn in the academy, which is kind of more of theory, to what is there in the real world. So I think that answers the next question. How this book is different from online tutorials. Currently, all automation tools have their own content, and for the project, we can search online. There's a lot of use cases if a person has knowledge that he can implement. And that's from Kalpit. So Kalpit, yes, I mean, absolutely. That, as I said earlier during the thing, we have abundance of knowledge. But the problem is that where to look is what we need to know, right? And if you know where to look and you see that there is ways to do an online, yeah, that's the way to go about it. And as we said, we highly recommend you going through these academies, and that's the base. And as Arun said, it's a bridge. This would give you a bridge to the real world projects. Kindly involve process discovery part using any tool. So right now we have not Shine, we have not done that, but maybe in a future book we can cover that. That is not the scope of this book. But absolutely, process discovery is very important, for becoming more and more important for RPA. They can look up my YouTube channel. Last week we did a session on Fortress IQ, and process discovery is again becoming very useful, just like the OCR, ICR. Where you can use it for your RPA projects. One of the big problems with RPA projects is the process complexity. We have seen that we start a project, we do the process, and then we discover that we've missed some branch or some part of the process. Process discovery ensures that you have the process as is, not what somebody told you, and then you miss some of the part of the processes. So yeah, use process discovery, not scope of this book. What factors need to be considered while creating business case, ROI, discovery phase analysis? So that's what Raman Kumar is asking. Um, there's multiple factors, right, in terms of the business case. So business case is basically you want to lay out the benefits, and when I was doing projects in Fujitsu, one of the key thing was ROI, and that meant that we had to show that we had a lot of hours saved, or not a lot of hours saved, so that there is enough there's a business case to do that automation. So one of the key things to look for is how many hours are getting saved, but then there are other benefits that you can get, and maybe doing it faster and faster throughput is something useful to you, or maybe the compliance aspects is useful to you. So all the benefits, and again, I have a post on this on nandan.info, which you can go and look and see what are the factors, what are the benefits, and how you create this ROI. So Bharat Giridhar says he will ask during the session. So, and I had many such. I had hidden this I had not hidden. I missed it. Use of code in action in an RPA environment. We know, Sam. Yes, I mean code in action. I think, and Vinu, if you're on the call, probably you can clarify on that question. I'm not fully sure, but I think you saw the code in action. That's the code in action videos in an RPA environment. What Arun showed us. How will the complexity of projects change for better or worse in the 12 months against increasing client expectations, against the improved functionality of software providers? So that's a question for Adrian Iaiza. I hope I'm saying that right. So Adrian, I think that the complexity could be increasing because there's a lot of more technologies coming in, but the good side is that it also becoming more useful. Like now we have got the hyper automation going on, and the Gartner's hyper automation term basically means, in terms of technology, bringing in more technologies. It's not just technology, but in terms of technology, bringing in a lot more technologies, like what you're saying, and as people mentioned, process discovery, process mining, AI, chatbots, virtual agents, NLP, you name it. There's multiple things, multiple technologies that's coming up, and we're going to see those being incorporated. So in that way, it's going to get a bit complex, though it's also going to get so useful. So it'll be really fun. I mean, as a technologist, I think it's a really fun time. You'll have more technologies to explore and add to RPA. And RPA is kind of playing that Swiss Army knife in terms of bringing those technologies together. It may be RPA, it may be an iPaaS solution, it may be BPM. It's all automation at the end of the day. So I think it's pretty interesting. I have a post again on hyper automation and the skills that you would need. So I cover everything there in detail, including the tools.
Yeah, and Nandan, just to add one more point here. So machine learning and AI is growing, and it's becoming easier for people to learn and implement. So that will get incorporated in your RPA implementation, where you would have to do some calls to this machine learning models to get better predictions, and it will be incorporated into your workflows, which will make your bot a bit more intelligent. So that is something you should be looking for or learning in the next 12 months, where people will be incorporating IA technologies, intelligent machine learning technologies into your RPA.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Arun. And sorry, I was trying to get through the answers quickly so that we can get to some live questions. But yeah, feel free to jump in there. Thank you for that. Anand is asking, can you provide examples of how to mature an organization's capabilities all the way to AI? So maturing an organization is multiple factors, not just technology, right? Technology is a factor. It's people, process, and technology. So things like center of excellence and how mature your processes are, how mature your strategy is, and how mature the technologies that you're using. So since you ask RPA to AI, I'm thinking it's in terms of technology. So in terms of technology, I think it's more of knowing what technology to use and where. I would not say going from RPA to AI is more mature. In fact, you can use AI on your first project and probably be not very mature, right? But generally, do people do tend to solve the simpler problems of repetitive tasks using API and then use AI for higher level tasks. So I would say in terms of technology, it's more about knowing what technologies you can use for each of your use cases in the organization, and you improve that, and you share the best practices, and you share the tools that worked well for you in the organization, especially using a COE and mechanisms like that. I think that's the way you can mature in the organization. So, but just to summarize, I would say you should mature in terms of people, the right team, and the right stakeholders, and the right people involved in the project, the processes that you're doing for the build or for collecting the processes, or prioritizing the processes, and then the technology aspect. How do you scale bots in production by Divya? So scaling bots, I think, is is follow the same thing that I said just now in terms of people, process, technology, and strategy. I consider strategy as a big factor in terms of scaling, because organizations that have a need to do automation and have like a strategy that this is why I want to do automation. Let me give an example. Vodafone, they were in trouble. They're still in trouble because they've not been doing well. And then on top of that, the Indian government slapped some big fine on them, and you might have heard about it. And so all that meant that they had to cut costs. So they had just one single strategy, or that they need to reduce their operating costs. And lo and behold, they have 700 bots. So as long as there is a business purpose to doing your automation, I think that helps you scale. And once you have that business purpose, everything else falls in place, whether it's for people, process, technology, or making a COE and all that. Does the book focus on particular platform, or is it presented in a general sense? No, it is focused on UiPath and Automation Anywhere. So yeah, I mean, the idea is that, Dave, is that you learn these technologies, and it's similar, I mean, in terms of other tools, but there are differences. So you would learn UiPath, for example, and then if you want to go learn Pega, you will have some aspects of this, and then maybe you can learn more from their academy. But if it's Pega is your tool, probably this is not the book, because this is UiPath and Automation Anywhere. Will this book helpful for SAP automation IRPA? Again, integrated intelligent RPA from SAP. Again, same answer. It's not an SAP IRPA book. It is a UiPath Automation Anywhere book, and we had to choose some tool, and so we chose the top two, and we think is easier to do. But the concepts are similar, and you can. So SAP, for example, you took over Contexter. So Contexter is a kind of different kind of tool, and they've got different concepts. Though overall, I would say the kind of things are similar, but it's technically it's a bit different, right? So you got to go learn that. So that's that, and then there's some questions on the live thing. So Roy is asking why only UiPath and Automation Anywhere could be tool agnostic. Great initiative. I think I answered that. Arun, you want to add to that?
Yeah, if we don't take a particular tool, I'm not sure how we're going to implement a project. We can say that we can provide a design and a process overview, but the actual request for this book was to create a project to help people understand and learn the platform quickly, and not spend a month learning a platform, right? So that's the main purpose. Speed to market. As we need a lot of RPA talent in the market now, this would fast track the process. That's why we have to choose a platform.
Yeah, and this is a projects book, not like a generic book, Roy, right? So I'll probably, we'll have another book on the generic thing. There is already a generic book on PACT, written by Alok Mani Tripathi. If you want to just know the RPA concepts, we do, as I said earlier, we do cover some basics, but mostly we get into that using UiPath and Automation Anywhere as the architecture and how to install and things like that, because this is a book on projects. So Roy, I hope that answers your question. If not, you can come off mute and ask. Okay, Isaac is asking, is there a project which is executed in Automation Anywhere had not been possible in UiPath and vice versa? And what were the issues faced? Arun, anything you can think of?
No, so both the platform has equal capability. So whatever projects we chose were not that complex. So both can be done in both the platforms. But if you ask me, UiPath is much more open, where Automation Anywhere is much more closed. So, but Automation Anywhere easy to learn. UiPath takes a bit of time to learn. So everything has its positives and negatives. Yeah, but in this, if you take the scope of this book, we can do the same projects in Automation Anywhere. So that would be a good exercise. If you finish your first 4 chapters in UiPath, please try to do the same in Automation Anywhere as well. Once you complete the Automation Anywhere chapters, and vice versa. So that will give you a good hands-on experience on both the tools. And yeah, that's a good
Okay.
way to learn.
And there could be projects, maybe, I don't know. Honestly, that's a good question in terms of what can be done in Automation Anywhere. I think that the intersection or I think it will be very less. I think most projects you should be able to do on both. Uh, I think one thing that could soon differentiate is in terms of hyper automation, because UiPath is adding a lot more capabilities on its platform. So it could become different. But right now, I think there's not much of a difference. Um, Telecore is asking, is there a project which calculates the KPIs using Automation Anywhere A 2019? No, we don't have a project in the book, right, Arun? I mean,
No,
yeah,
we have not covered any KPIs
yeah,
or reporting. It's
yeah. We're
part
not.
of
Yeah, we did
RPA.
consider that though. I think we have given some overview of the analytics part, right, Arun?
And when a very high level,
Very
we
high
told
level, yeah.
what are the capabilities, but yeah, that's not part of this book.
Yeah, and it's not in the scope of this book, basically.
Yes.
But yeah, that's a good question. Good topics for another book. I want to learn UiPath. Is this book enough to learn from scratch with practical knowledge? Is Manoj is asking. I think we covered that, right? Arun, you want to add anything?
No, I think we are covered.
Okay. Can you tell us the top three AI ML technologies which we can learn? Hmm. That's an interesting question. So I think, and Arun, I'll let you add, or you can tell your three. But my top three, if you ask me, the first one is intelligent document processing, or IDP, which uses AI to do OCR or ICR. And actually, Arun can tell you a lot about it because he's working in that area. But I think that's one area is looking very exciting to me, and that's where you can see next week Blue Prism will release Decipher, which is basically that. You've got IQ Bot, and you've got many other technologies out there, which is someone able to draw on the screen?
Someone is drawing.
Okay. All right, I just stopped sharing there. This is Zoom, right? So we just need to be careful. So, yeah, I mean, I think UiPath, the IDP technology is one key area. The other area I see coming up quite a bit well is the computer vision area, which we have a project here in terms of image recognition. And we are using computer vision within RPA itself to improve the screen, locating the screen elements. I think that is also a very promising area. The third area I see coming up very well is NLP, or natural language processing, which is being used in chatbots. And chatbots is also coming to a place where it start becoming more and more useful. So I think those are three areas I can think of. Arun, you want to share anything?
Yeah, you just told all the points I had in
Okay.
my mind.
Okay, good. Arun?
No.
Okay. Raman asks, when we have automated a process, what is the best way to show the results? UiPath reports, Power BI, which will be the better approach? Arun, you want to address that?
So it depends on what your organization has, right? So these Power BI or Tableau are all just the way we can represent data in forms of charts and graphs, right? So UiPath has their own analytics reporting platform, which it comes out of the box. Automation Anywhere also has those. So there is there's nothing called the best way to show the results. It's all depends on your client budget and what you can afford for the project and what you need actually, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe you don't need it. You just need an Excel report where you create your
That's
own.
what we used to
Don't
do.
have to pay license cost, right? That is the better approach.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and these are all separate license
Yeah,
costs.
the best solution is the one which doesn't cost you anything, right?
Correct. The best solution is what you already have. So I think we're getting to the top of the hour, but let's try and get through this quickly. So yeah, I mean, use what works best for you. Even this Kibana, I've seen you people use Splunk. You mentioned Tableau. So, all right. Tried ordering the book from UK. Price of £42, include delivery with no Kindle edition availability. Your 2 cents, please, to buy this book. That's very interesting. So, yeah, it varies from region to region. You can actually sign up for Pact, pact.com, PACKT.com, and you can, sign up there and I think download the PDF version, right, Arun?
Yes. So yeah, Pact is available in UK. Yes, and even Amazon should work fine. I'm not sure. I think the question is why should the person invest the money to buy the book?
No, he is asking there's no Kindle edition available, and then the paperback is £42, which he
Kindle version should be available.
yeah.
If not, they could try the Pact site.
Yeah, try the Pact site, and actually, Pact is a UK-based company.
Mhm.
But also, Arun, maybe we can check with our people why it's not available on Kindle for UK. That
Okay,
way.
maybe the Kindle is not available on your phone. It should be available on a laptop.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Arun, yeah. So, yeah, try from your laptop because Kindle books you cannot buy from your phone app. You can still buy from the browser. Thanks everyone for joining today. Thanks for all the questions and thanks for all the support with the book. We are really grateful for all the support. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next session. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you.